tonight.
They don't care if I live or die.
One Saskatoon woman struggled to get the government to fix her furnace. A bad batch of drugs leads to a spike in overdoses. As part of our Welcome to Canada series, we meet 3 newcomers to learn about their experience coming to this country.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is a Monday, January 13th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hi there, thank you for joining us. It has been so cold the last few days, and one Saskatoon woman is struggling to stay warm inside her house. She's on income assistance and says she can't get help from the government programs to replace her broken furnace. Helena Mahalik reports.
As the province continues to endure stretches of bitter cold, a Saskatoon woman says she's been freezing in her own home for an entire month. Laura Edna Lacey, who is living on income assistance, has been fighting to get a working furnace. She was denied financial help from a government program meant for emergency home repairs. Lacey says she lives check to check and that without government help, there's no way for her to replace the furnace.
I woke up, I think 8 or 9 a.m., kind of usual time for me, and noticed the house felt a bit cold. So I looked at the thermostat and it said 16 degrees, which usually I set my thermostat at 18 to sleep, and then I use a programmable thermostat, so it's up to 21 by the time I wake up. So yeah, 16 degrees, and I was like, oh, that's not great.
Lacey is trying to stay warm by heating her home using donated portable heaters. She says she told the Ministry of Social Services about her bad furnace about 3 years ago. She warned them she was immunocompromised and couldn't risk living in a homeless shelter during the pandemic.
I told the ministry the details of the medical stuff, and the supervisors didn't even respond to my worker's email, like just no response. And so I've been feeling ever since then like, yeah, they don't care if I live or die.
Lacey can try and get funding from one of 2 ways. The first is through Saskatchewan Assured Income for Disability. The other is through the Saskatchewan Housing Corporation's Emergency Repair Program. But Lacey says the Housing Corporation denied her claim because she already used the program back in 2017 when she got money to fix structural supports in her basement. Lacey's lawyer, who represents people in poverty, says that doesn't make sense.
My concern about that is that I've looked at the information about the program, and number one, it looks to be a new program. Number two, nothing in the statute or regulations, in other words, nothing in the law that creates the program, appears to say anything about you can only get one grant every 15 years.
The province tells us it's aware of Lacey's situation and it's assessing her options. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A Saskatoon Addiction Treatment Centre is raising the alarm after a recent spike in overdoses. It suggests the rise stems from a bad batch of drugs, and it has Prairie Harm Reduction reminding people to test drugs before use and to carry naloxone. Dean Patterson explains.
About 10 people overdosed at Saskatoon's Prairie Harm Reduction within a 24-hour period. The facility operates a safe consumption site for drug use and has supports on site for things like overdoses. But before it began Thursday, they went about 3 weeks without an overdose.
When there's something with that many, there's some sort of bad supply going around, yeah.
Deck says the site has not been able to test the drugs so far. She says there's only so much their facility can do with an unsafe supply.
What we can do is make sure that people test their drugs, make sure that people aren't using alone, and make sure that people are carrying naloxone.
Usually Saskatoon's fire department responds to a few overdoses each day. That increased across the city last week. Beginning Wednesday, 8 overdoses, peaking on Friday with 16 before slowing down.
And that's overdoses that we got notified of and responded to. That doesn't necessarily reflect that there wasn't more overdoses during that period of time.
Hogan says there are spikes in the number of overdoses throughout the year. So far this year, less than 2 weeks into 2025, the department has responded to more than 70.
An estimate of the actual number of overdoses, and speaking to the overdose outreach team, would probably be in the at least 3 times that.
The Saskatoon Police Service says its drug unit is currently not aware of any new illicit drugs in the community. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatchewan NDP wants equalization to be more fair, echoing calls made by Premier Scott Moe earlier this month. The NDP says that over the past 17 years, Saskatchewan has not received funding through the federal program. It exists to ensure comparable services across the country. Carla Beck says Saskatchewan is in last place in funding for healthcare and education.
Equalization is unfairly bankrolling new roads, new schools in places like Quebec and Ontario. This is something that makes zero sense, and it doesn't pass a basic test of fairness.
Beck says the official opposition has written to all federal party leaders and potential leadership candidates for the Liberals, seeking their commitment to improve equalization. She wants the program to account for all natural resource revenues, including renewable and non-renewable sources. Premier Scott Moe spoke with CBC's Power and Politics Monday afternoon, where he focused on tariffs. President-elect Donald Trump has threatened to implement a 25% tariff on Canadian goods once he's sworn in later this month. And Moe says conversations with the federal government are ongoing.
Conversations that we've had with the federal government have been around, very specific, precision-based retaliatory tariffs, which I hope we don't get to. It's moving the wrong direction. Any export tariffs or restriction of products that Canadians produce and providing them to anyone in the world is simply not on. And that would be the most divisive conversation, most divisive situation that we would find ourselves in Canada.
Moe and many of other premiers in Canada are set to visit Ottawa later this week for more discussions on how Canada should respond to the tariffs. The invitation follows a request for a First Minister's meeting from Ontario Premier Doug Ford last week. Trump will take office in 1 week on January 20th. There are fresh worries of more wildfire destruction in the Los Angeles area. Firefighters had managed to make some progress over the weekend, but now the winds are picking up again. The fires have killed at least 24 people and obliterated thousands of homes. Officials are now warning the entire 10 million population of LA County could receive an evacuation order. Steve Futterman has the details.
Los Angeles is on edge, facing the one thing it doesn't want. New winds have arrived. Stronger winds are coming.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through Wednesday. Please be assured that all fire departments and all law enforcement agencies in the area will be prepared.
And there is fear among those who live here that their homes could be the next victims of fires that have ravaged and shocked this city.
We stand to lose everything if the winds blow the fire back into Topanga and it burns the whole of Fernwood and Topanga down.
I actually don't know where I would go, to be honest. I don't have family here. I have friends, but they're all affected.
My mom's street, you can actually see through the two the street behind and the street in front.
We're going through the stages of grief, there's no doubt about it.
Nearly a week after these fires broke out, it's still hard to really comprehend the totality of the damage in places like this here in Pacific Palisades. And with the new winds coming up, the one thing officials don't want is a repeat. Fire crews and engine companies have been strategically pre-positioned, placed in vulnerable areas where new fires could start or previously extinguished fires could reignite.
We are not in the clear as of yet, and we must not let our guard down, as we have right now extreme fire behavior.
As preparations for the winds are in place, the grim search for remains among the ruins goes on. Remains of people who either wouldn't leave or couldn't leave. Also today, the first criminal charges against those allegedly involved in looting. One person was also charged with arson in a case not related to these fires.
These people who've committed these crimes are facing very significant sentences. So the criminals have decided that this is an opportunity, and I'm here to tell you that this is not an opportunity. You will be arrested, you will be prosecuted, and you will be punished.
The strongest winds are expected tomorrow through Wednesday. The forecast calls for wind gusts over 100 kilometers an hour. Steve Futterman for CBC News, Los Angeles.
The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency has received a request for assistance through the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre and is reviewing the request. The centre says it's sending more resources to help California deal with the wildfires. So here's what that looks like. 2 more water bombers will be departing from Quebec. That's in addition to the 2 that are already there, one of which was damaged by a drone last week but now has to be repaired. More than 60 firefighters and additional personnel are also heading south this week. Canada says it's monitoring the fluid situation. Well, we made it to almost the end of this cold snap anyway. The sunshine, a welcome break from some cloudy skies, and while the clouds and snow do come back Tuesday, there's warmer temperatures on the way too. Ethan Williams will have the details in your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. As part of our series called Welcome to Canada, CBC News is taking an in-depth look at the experience of newcomers. Many say they're struggling to establish themselves, but our reporter Aishwarya Duda spoke to some immigrants who say their Canadian dream is still alive in Saskatchewan.
Robel Farai got his first sewing job at this tailoring shop 15 years ago after arriving in Canada as a refugee from Eritrea. Now he owns this store and 2 others.
When I'm coming from refugee camp, from nothing, zero in my pocket. I don't have any money in my pocket, just I'm eating airplane foods.
Farai worked 2 jobs to save up enough money to buy his first business.
I'm from zero to They told me from zero to hero.
He considers himself an immigration success story.
But a survey conducted for CBC shows that many newcomers are frustrated with their lives in this country, whether it's the lack of housing, tough job market, or high cost of living. I spoke to other immigrants in Saskatchewan who say the harsh economic conditions are making achieving their dreams even more challenging, but still possible.
Ashutosh Patel just opened this car wash a few weeks ago near downtown Saskatoon. He came here in 2019 from India with dreams of starting his own business. He worked at 7-Eleven as a manager, saved up enough money, then with partners bought this land. The pandemic, inflation, and rising interest rates have made things more difficult, but he believes he'll eventually reach his goals.
We have the dream and feels like it's come true, right?
Gurpreet Singh moved from Ontario to Saskatchewan, where he says the lower cost of living helped him save enough money to start a trucking business last year.
Many people on social media saying that Canada is not like it used to be, but I think if you are a hard worker, there's everything in Canada. Canada gave me a lot. Like everything I was dreaming, just Canada gave me.
It took some long days on the road and persistence, but he's expanded his business from 1 truck to 12. And while some newcomers may be packing bags to find jobs elsewhere, Singh, Patel, and Farai want to give back to this community. All 3 are creating jobs, and Farai is training newcomers how to sew. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Estevan's primary source of local news has closed up shop. Established in 1903, 2 years before Saskatchewan officially became a province, the Estevan Mercury operated for 122 years. Last week, the newspaper officially shut down its weekly print publication, with articles from the Estevan area continuing to be published online through Harvard Media. Former editor Norm Park says he's worried online news can't and won't serve the community in the same way.
If you have a swim meet going on at the same time as a baseball tournament, at the same time as a soccer tournament, and you have reporters at all those events and you're reporting facts, and then the next day you're going to a council meeting perhaps, or a school board meeting, or a health board meeting, and you're dealing with people who you have gotten to know, or you go to an accident scene and you know the police are there, You know their names, you know how to get information from them, and they know how to get information from you and what to give you and how to give it to you. And all those little details that you work out over time, it's just so valuable. And, I think the community is going to see that they've lost some attachment to one another with the closure.
And our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. Sad news about Estevan. Let's bring people up with the weather.
Yeah, we got some warm weather on the way. How about that? After our few days of some very, very cold conditions across the province, things beginning to warm up on this Monday. For some, for others, not so much. You see, we have lots of colors on this map here. If you go out a little further west, we have this stationary front, and in behind that, warmer weather, daytime highs near freezing in parts of the southwest. And you go further east, we got some purples over here, and that means daytime highs only managed to get around -20 in portions of east central and southeastern Saskatchewan. You can see that's kind of a wider trend as we zoom out. Much warmer Pacific air flooding in from Alberta, and still that big dome of high pressure, which brought that to very cold air, still sitting over portions of Manitoba, where some extreme cold warnings are in effect there as we head overnight Monday into Tuesday. Kind of correlating with those temperatures is our sky conditions. We got cloud cover and a little bit of snow moving in through western sections through the day Monday. Still clearing skies, though, out east. That's keeping things on the chilly side. And that'll continue to be a theme as we go through kind of these next 24 hours or so here. High pressure begins to move out. The clouds begin to move eastward overnight. We'll get some clearing skies out west, but Regina, Saskatoon, wee hours of Tuesday morning, possibly a little bit of some snow, but that should start to clear out as we get into Tuesday morning. Although I think for a lot of us still looking at some cloud cover in eastern sections through the day while the west clears out a little bit. Tuesday evening, cold front starts to move through from this low pressure system, and we get a little bit of some mixed moisture through parts of south and central. Don't think it's going to be all that much, though. I think mostly northern Saskatchewan is going to catch some snow from this. Then we clear out for Wednesday in advance of another low pressure system, which starts moving in for Thursday, and all of us across the province have a pretty good shot at getting some snowfall from that. We're still about a day away from knowing how much is going to fall from that system, but for now, much of far northern Saskatchewan through these next 24 hours or so, I think we're looking for probably a good 5 to 10 centimeters in many locations there. Winds are going to start to become a little bit more of a factor, not necessarily through Tuesday. I think maybe through northern portions we'll get a bit of a breeze Tuesday, but especially Wednesday and Thursday as that next low begins to move in. That's when we start to see those wind gusts pick up, maybe in the range of 50 to 60, and with some colder air, those northwesterly winds going to make things feel pretty brisk once again. And our jet stream pattern, though, starting to change a little bit. We start to see that jet stream arcing north of the province. That'll bring in that warmer weather. As that breaks down a little bit Thursday, though, that low pressure system is going to have a chance to ride along that jet stream and bring us that snow. So Regina's forecast looking a bit like this. A warm up over the next few days. Again, I think a good chance of snow Thursday into early Friday. And then that's when we start to go the other way on the roller coaster temperature-wise. And just in time for the weekend, yeah, a bit of a cold snap returning there. Saskatoon, again, sunny these next couple of days. And as we get into Thursday, again, a better chance of some snow. I think we'll know tomorrow how much snow we're going to get from that. And then wind chills possibly down into the -30s. And yes, those are overnight temperatures near -30 once again, Sam.
Dude.
January.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
The Royal Mint in the UK has issued a coin that seems especially relevant these days, even though it's to mark the 75th anniversary of the death of George Orwell. The new £2 collectible has a quote from his book 1984 saying, "Big Brother is watching you." The coin depicts what looks like an eye, but it is in fact a camera lens at the center. The book is about a government that spies on its citizens. And just last week, Apple agreed to pay a fine for sharing information obtained through its virtual assistant, Siri. We will be back after the break. The cost of mailing a letter has just jumped up. Canada Post has also raised the cost of other mail services. It's effective today. Canada Post is raising prices by 25%. For example, to mail a domestic letter, a single stamp will jump from $1.15 to $1.44. In a statement, Canada Post says the change is, quote, required to better align stamp prices with the rising cost of providing letter mail service to all Canadians, end quote. The corporation expects the move will bring in $80 million this year, but its business model remains uncertain. Letter mail has plummeted 60% over the past 2 decades. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
And just because it's cold outside doesn't mean it's not beautiful at times. I want to thank Luke for sending in this shot of this gorgeous sundog over Regina as the sun rose over the city on Monday morning. And I think we will see some frigid temperatures out in eastern Saskatchewan as we head Monday into Tuesday with the wind chill feeling into the -30s. But you notice how much warmer it is out west. That's kind of the trend we've been seeing through the day. Northern Saskatchewan, especially near the eastern border, starting into the -20s overnight. But we do get a bit of a warm up in many locations as we get into early Tuesday morning. Clouds beginning to clear as we head throughout the day with a little bit of some snow, I think, into the far north, especially as we get later into the afternoon. That's when that'll start to move in, but above freezing temperatures in portions of the north, especially western sections. Cloud cover going to start to clear through the day through south and central, still hanging on in eastern sections. I think even Regina, we have a chance of a flurry or two, but out west, the sunshine comes in and those warmer temperatures start to move in as well. But again, closer to the Manitoba border, that's where we see those minus double-digit temperatures. Now, Sam, I have to ask, did you notice we had a few extra people around our building here in Regina?
I heard some people cheesing and taking pictures.
Yes, that's right. Well, they were here from the Saskabilities Day program, and you know what? We even recorded a special message for our viewers.
You're watching CBC Saskatchewan News.
Yes, they were an energetic group who got to take a tour around our building and see what we do here at CBC Saskatchewan. I was lucky enough to give them a tour of our Regina TV studio, and they even got to try their hand at doing the weather too. And you know, I think we have some future weather presenters and news hosts waiting in the wings, Sam. I think we better watch our backs.
I'm not worried. Let's bring them in. Let's give it a go.
Absolutely. Let's see what happens.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it from us today. For more news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks for watching.